Hello. Who's Zoom user?
Morning. It's Erik, Don.
What's that? Oh, hey, how
It's
are you?
Erik.
Good,
Good. How you doing?
good.
I
All
was
right.
having some great difficulty trying to get in from my Mac, so I have to use my
That's fun. Well, you look awesome.
iPad. Thanks.
So I don't know what we're going to see on today's call, if we're going to have stuff going or not. Let's see.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yep.
How you doing up there?
Good.
So I see you're you're actually going to make the move now, right?
Oh my gosh, this is now I've broken a record. Now this is the fastest move I've ever will have done. All I have to do is find the movers at this point. Um,
Right. I saw that. I saw that this morning on Facebook.
God, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's already found the place and he's there.
Well, that
Um,
yeah, I knew I had asked you that. We talked about that
yes. Well, this is
before.
a new place. He had a rented a room to work up there.
Okay. And now you've
Yeah.
got an apartment.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now we've got a little apartment, a couple blocks off Devon Street, which is going to be good for us.
That's nice.
Hold on just a second while I wait. Let me know if anybody else joins.
Sure.
Oh, I can see it. Sometimes I don't see it when I'm doing stuff. Oops. Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw, I landed an opportunity.
Which one?
It's with a company called TechFlow, and they're going to actually have me working at Homeland Security.
Fabulous. That's
Yeah,
perfect for you. That
yeah.
that is an extension of your knowledge.
And so what's even more interesting is there's actually four other companies still in the running. Yeah, it's
So you've
crazy.
got you have the role and there's that much
Yeah.
scope.
Well, no, there's four other companies that are still um, that are still interviewing me.
Oh, looking at you
I
for other
actually, yeah,
opportunities.
I actually have two other interviews after this afternoon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
It's a
then
good place to be. So did you say
yeah,
yes to the one that to Homeland?
so yeah, but the problem is it's going to be mid-January before I get started because I got to get clearance
Yeah, right.
and Homeland's got to go through a whole red tape
Yep,
process to
totally.
bring me up to be able to bring me on board. So but there's actually another one that is the chief enterprise architect for Blue Cross of Kansas, but will allow me to actually stay here in Tennessee.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the one I really want.
Yeah, right.
So,
Where is everybody? Gives us a chance. But anyway, I've also got to give me just a minute because
sure.
I'm there's another meeting going on the other window and I'm supporting that. This got crazy too. Actually, I'm going to resume recording. Hi, everyone, and welcome to IT Service Management Forum. This is our new Tech Talk Thursday session. Every week, give or take, we're going to have an informal Tech Talk session. Sometimes we might have a lot of people, sometimes we're going to have a little, but the most important thing is we're going to connect. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about career development and the importance of best practices in our industry. I think never more important than today does the logic and the need for really becoming a student of the business we serve become so important. ITSMF is a premier member association to really help to develop those skills. We're really about advancing and creating modern service management best practices and standards that help organizations run more effectively and efficiently to deliver bottom line results. It's about staying connected one to another. That's where the power is. That's where the opportunity is. We connect, we learn, we grow. And that's from giving and taking, sharing and learning. We are going to cover our commitment to excellence. We're dedicated to building an engaging and inspiring community. We really share knowledge and expertise. The goal is to create a modern view on what's happening in industry today and where does service management need to evolve to help us get there. It's really about the career side of how do we evolve our best technical skills, business skills, and promoting a unified community where we come together and become stronger as a result of our connection one to another. We're going to talk about our upcoming Tech Talk events because we've got some really exciting stuff. And as I get to do this, I'm also going to introduce the president of our emerging Chicago chapter. We have some really exciting stuff coming up. What do you think, Charles? Do you want to tell us anything about the upcoming events we have in January and February?
Yeah, hello, Don. Hello, everyone. As you can see, we do have a very, very exciting lineup scheduled for 2023 for our ITSMF Chicago. We're going to have 3 really, really nice candidates in addition to other participants or speakers. We have 3 that's highlighted here just to kind of get everyone interested. We have first Dave Pultorak. Dave Pultorak is a educational industry leader for service management. He's developed a number of guides as well as courses for the ITIL courseware. He's done that for version 2, 3, and 4. He's also been a very, very, very wonderful speaker at a number of the ITSMF events throughout the US. He's also does work internationally to support that. I've actually worked with Dave on several occasions. Dave is a very, very, very interesting and exciting speaker, so I'm quite sure you would enjoy that. The next 2 you see we have Jim Dubois. Jim Dubois is a global industry technology professional. We have him as an advisor. I don't know if an advisor is enough for Jim Dubois. Jim, he worked for Microsoft years ago, and he led a number of the organizations there as CIO, as CISO, as well as he's done a number of really interesting things. He's been noted in recent times as a thought leader for some of the security scenarios we have. So Jim would be someone to really talk to or to meet with or discuss with or hear to gain insight into where the industry is going. And the last person is someone that many of all we probably do know if we have worked in IT service management for a while. We have David Cannon. David Cannon is, if we would like to call David Cannon, he's one of the true old guards, if you will. David he's worked in a number of industries. He's taught a number of us and trained many of us through various educational services. He's also led as a corporate executive at Hewlett Packard. So he's got a lot of really good experience. He provides us with guidance and wisdom that's based on experience, and I think that would be valuable. So for everyone that's interested, I would suggest that you try to attend these sessions. I'm quite sure you'll gain a lot out of that, and I'm quite sure you will enjoy it. Thanks, Don.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yep, we got a lot of exciting stuff coming, and we're so happy to be bringing that. ITSMF is a national and a global organization. Our focus for these Tech Talks is national. So what we're doing in Chicago, we're very excited about what's happening in Chicago, but we're going to talk about 2 geographic regions today and why to join us. So why join us? ITSMF gives you access to some of the leaders, like the men who wrote the book on ITIL 4, the men who are connecting the critical business importance of linking information security and cybersecurity with IT and delivering business value and preserving business value. Reduced cost for ITSMF conferences, ITIL best practices, and access to our online webinars, white papers, employment opportunities. Now, we are doing some unique and additional employment opportunities to support outreach for the many that have been laid off since November. And that's part of the reason we're excited to have this session today, because as we start to kick off, we will have a session like with Erik, where he talks about what's going on in the industry and advises people for his experience for our times. And then the last half of the last segment of our session, when we get this full swing, we'll have recruiters who are hiring in to talk about who they're looking for. You could actually connect opportunities here on the call. We also will have Shanae Rutt is a legendary C-level executive resume writer. She helps people to market themselves in a tough economy. We'll bring people like that in to help take you from how do we represent the stuff you do to be able to get jobs of today. And, you know, when it's a competitive marketplace, that kind of matters. Membership to IT service management is, we have professional membership rates at $189, student rates at $19, and there are corporate rates for companies. You connect to us and then they work out pricing for you for that. So we do recommend, there are benefits to membership. And then we also are doing these local outreaches where we will connect with other chapters to really extend the value of IT service management, because at the end of the day, it's about ideas that move our industry. And post-COVID, it's really important we kind of stay connected and learn how to do business differently, because certainly the way we do business has changed since COVID. So we're asking you to get involved. How can you get involved and where's your interest lie? There's a lot you can do. You can always be involved in just dialing in and learning. I think that helps, it keeps your skills sharp in a tough career economy. But you can also get involved in our speakers programs, our local board memberships. We work global and we connect local. There's opportunities for membership planning and event planning and leadership. Join us. We've got a lot we can do together. And now more than ever, sharing job opportunities, I think, is also important. So I'll talk about that. ITSMF does that to keep your skills sharp and to share jobs. But we also have some LinkedIn networks that we'll share with you guys to help connect you. In the deck, I provide some of the, if you're interested in getting involved in leadership locally, we are looking for leaders to help us drive events online and in person. So we've got some recognized board of director roles. We publish the details to what those roles are, what they consist of. You can reference back to those. I'm not going to go into all of them. All I'm just going to say is, come on, get involved. We definitely need more thought leaders, and it's a great way to work with great people like Erik and Charles and others to stay current on what's happening. In Chicago, we're just starting to launch. We're starting to launch out. Charles, is there anything you'd like to share about our local organization before we go on?
Yeah, I think we're going through a transition because of COVID. So what we're looking to do now is just to regenerate or get our base going. As we know that COVID, it changed the way that we work in general from a service management perspective. And I believe, as you see now, we're having virtual calls, but in the future, we'll have some that will be in person. But what we're looking for is we need, I hate to say new blood, but this is an opportunity to infuse the organization with new blood so we can have new thinking around this paradigm shift that we're going into, I guess, for the remaining of our lives, many of us, and then into the next generation. We're not going to be essentially meeting face to face as much as we used to. Therefore, we need new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. Don, myself, and even Erik, I'm going to say that we can come up with different ways of entertaining you, but we'd love to hear what you're interested in and how you can help us deliver. Chicago, I was just looking at Chicago for the ranking for jobs. It's one of the top 10 in the country for IT jobs. Yeah. So it is a great place to be. I'm quite sure once we connect, we will be very strong. The affiliation we have here, we have direct affiliation with the security groups through CISSP. We have direct project and program management interaction through PMI organizations here. We also have direct connections through this local snug for ServiceNow. So we have a lot of good connections. I believe once we get started here, it's going to become really hot. But once again, we're in this transformation stage. I hate using that one, but we are kind of transforming to some degree digitally, right? If you all look at it, we've gone from being face to face to more digital. We're going to use a lot of the tools to do that. So I encourage you all to jump in now and to provide us with opportunities. It's a career booster. It's a great way to network. Then in the future, we may have some cool things, such as even starting to do research. I'm a big research guy, so it may be opportunities for us to do all kinds of great stuff. I'm just looking for people who are interested. I know Dawn is really a fireball at that, so she's going to grab you and probably find something for you. So look out. But we look forward to having you all as part of Chicago Leg.
Thanks so much, Charles. Yeah, we're very excited about Chicago and the opportunity Chicago represents. And it's just a delight to see us. I like the transformation side of things because we have an opportunity to really redefine and put our perspective around what we need to do to deliver value. And right now that value is in, you're right, doing business new ways and serving the community's needs new ways. People have different needs now, and how exciting it is to be part of that. Chicago League has a new focus based upon that very thing. We are partnering nationally with other chapters and even other organizations to develop quality events that really leverage a national presence with our local presence. So build global, think local. We're looking for Chicago area hosts, people that are from Chicago that can join us on remote virtual calls, as well as hosting an event in your office in the greater Chicago area. We're looking for presenters to participate in our Thursday Tech Talks, as well as special events to really drill into panel groups where we have half a dozen professionals talking about some of the leading things that people care about now. If you're interested in the board, we need your help. We're looking on growing membership. We want to create captivating local events, and it starts with us and it starts with you. And we can't wait for you to join us in that. Also want to switch gears a little bit to one other region before I introduce Erik, and that is Silicon Valley, IT Service Management Forum in the San Francisco Bay Area. Those of you that don't know, I was the president of the Silicon Valley chapter, and post-COVID, Silicon Valley was very deeply affected by COVID, and because of the huge Silicon Valley contract workplace, a lot changed in that area. So we're looking to relaunch that chapter, and I'm looking to mentor a new team. If there's interest, we need to identify at least 2 people that are willing to partner with myself and the leadership at IT Service Management Forum to help you establish the chapter. You won't be doing it alone, but we do need 2 people to be able to do that. If it's time to just close the chapter, that's fine too. But I think there's a lot of good we could and should be doing. And that's part of the reason I'm happy to be working with Charles in Chicago, because I think when we consider service management, its solution is global. Our exercise, our activities, and our service to the industry that we work in needs to be elevated to meet the needs of the businesses and the individuals that are working hard within them. So we need at least 2 people to fill the office of president and vice president. But in Silicon Valley, we really need somebody to help drive membership, to drive organizing events. We've got a whole bunch of intelligence documents that we can share, and we can help you get there. We just need a couple people that are willing to put in the time to help this to happen. And by the way, there is a leadership discount for those that are actively building a league. There's a discount on membership as well. So get in touch with me if you're interested in being part of the Silicon Valley renewal, and get in touch with Charles or myself to talk about Chicago. Now, we're talking about Chicago, and it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Erik Bock. Erik and I have known one another since, well, high school.
A long time.
A very long time. And we are both Illinois natives, but both of us have kind of worked in the industry all over the place. And what I love about Erik is he's got an incredible background. He understands the people, process, and technology side of things. It changes all the time, and he's able to keep up with it. That's one of the things I love about him. The other thing I love about Erik is that he's always been brilliant, but his ability to connect with people and add value and turn relationships and technology into gold, that's big. And what I caught one of the things that Erik was doing on LinkedIn that I really loved, and that was he did a theme of understanding failure and its importance to success. And he shared, it was basically a daily blog exploring 5 failings as a CIO, how to take that lesson and turn it around into something good. So Erik, I'm going to turn this over to you, and I'm going to let you just speak freely, and we might have questions as we go, but I'd love to have you share about what you do. You've got an incredible experience from public sector to government work in enterprise IT architecture. And, I just share what's changed with the times. And what do you recommend for people that are facing layoff? I loved what you shared about that, which is an extension of just how darn good you are.
Thanks, Dawn. So these 5 failings, it started off as one of my LinkedIn contacts actually had these 5, and with his permission, Nathaniel Morris is his name. I reached out to him and said, I want to use these 5 failings for a CIO that in my job search, in my just and be able to do talks over these and expand upon these 5 failings. And some of them aren't just CIO, but just business in general. And so I want to just start with that. And actually, Dawn, if you could bring that back up so I can go through those.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Because I don't have them memorized, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, that was unfair, wasn't it? Okay, here we go.
Thanks. So the first one is a failing for a CIO or any, honestly, high-level IT executive, especially for one that came up through the ranks. I will tell you, I came up through the ranks. I taught myself how to program in high school. I've got a bachelor's degree in computer information systems. I was, as I refer to it, as a screw turner configuring PCs while I was in college. I was a network engineer. I was network operating systems. I've been a programmer. And so when I first went into enterprise architecture, which I've been practicing for almost 25 years ago, I struggled because I was still talking as we put here, techno speak
Right.
in here to business partners who would get the glazed over look in their eyes. They didn't understand what I was talking about. And so I had to learn from that piece of it to be able to talk to the business. It's actually one of the reasons why when I went to grad school, I got an MBA versus an MSIS, so that I was much better at speaking the language of business, to my business partners. And that's a very key thing in any upper level leadership role within IT. Being able to speak with your business partners at their level, not at the engineering level within IT.
Right.
So it was interesting. I had a lot of time before I went back to grad school. And I had a professor ask me one evening to stay behind. And he then says to me, he says, "You're only here for the letters, aren't you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Well, you already know all this." And I said, "Well, yeah, kind of. I need the credibility behind not only being able to talk the talk, I need the credibility side of it. And those three letters give me the credibility." And he's like, "I get it."
Yeah. Well, and that's what
Yeah.
ITIL 4 was all about, is, being able
Right.
to, we need to not keep everything so mystical that, we can't explain to the business what we do and how we do it.
Right. And I'm currently in the process of actually publishing some articles on LinkedIn as well on enterprise architecture, which is what I do. I've been an enterprise architect for the largest for-profit hospital company in the United States, which probably means the world, based here in Nashville. I was an enterprise architect for a hospitality company, also based here in Nashville, where I live. I was the chief enterprise architect for the state of Tennessee's Medicaid program called TennCare. And I was in that role for about 6 years. I'm currently a senior enterprise architect for a consulting company based out of St. Louis, but I'm preparing to move on to another role, which is going to take me back into public sector here shortly. But I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to talk about it in depth. So the thing about enterprise architecture and ITSM is we're both rooted in IT, but we have major ties back into the business. And so ITSM and enterprise architecture work hand in hand. So it's, I mean, I've got a couple of ITIL certifications under my belt, though they're all version 3 at this point. But it's a part of who I am that allows me to speak to that level when I walk into a business. It's a common business language at that point. And that's key. So getting rid of that techno speak, first bullet, not being able to connect the dots. This is a tough one. For so many years, decades, IT was always viewed as a cost center, and it's not. These days, IT is a competitive advantage. We are in a data-driven market in every industry. We are in a data-driven market. Executives at the business level, all the way up to the CEO, have to make decisions based upon the data that they have at hand at the time they're ready to make the decision. And without good information, they potentially make a very bad decision, which could be catastrophic to a company. I've seen it happen. I mean, I've witnessed it happen firsthand.
Do you have any suggestions on how people can partner with the business to avoid that? Because that seems to be a recurrent challenge everywhere.
Again, that comes back to where somebody like myself as an enterprise architect works. I mean, one of the domains within enterprise architecture is business architecture. And it's not just the retooling of your business processes and your workflows. It's also understanding that enterprise architect working with the business and IT leadership to be able to understand what the business needs in order to provide that data to them. And the data is the raw form. The information is what they need, right? And that is delivered in reports and dashboards and the such, possibly even spreadsheets, whatever your form factor is that you prefer to get your information in, and being able to provide that information so that decisions can be made properly. and even if you're within IT, I was in a scenario with TenCare where I was making decisions, but I was not being provided with all the data that I needed to make them. And I had to go back to that business unit, which was a system integrator, and tell them, guys, I'm making decisions based on the information that you give me. And if you don't give me the information, all the information that I need to make the decision, I'm not going to make the decisions that you want me to make.
Correct. Yep.
And once they got that understanding, I got the information that I needed when I needed it.
Right.
So,
yeah, of course.
So it's bringing a system to market now becomes a competitive advantage for, especially in the private sector, can become a competitive advantage to an organization. Even in public sector, one of the largest IT projects, probably the largest IT project that the state of Tennessee has ever done, was an eligibility program that we did for TenCare for Medicaid eligibility, where we took it from being a fairly manual process where potential members called in to an online. We pushed it out to the people and redetermination, and we pushed it out to the people via a website and a mobile application. So we took member services out of the loop, not completely. I mean, there's still a need for the member services piece of it, but we changed the way they worked. So we had to re-architect their business. Right. We had to change their processes, their workflows. And we changed the way that the people did what they did and how they did it, and took the, for lack of a better term, mundane piece of it out and put it in the hands of the people that needed it to be able to try and apply for Medicaid here in the state of Tennessee. And it was very successful. We had about 600,000 households that are within that are recipients of Medicaid in one way, shape, or form. And during re-enrollment every year, we would have upwards of 50,000 people hitting the site a day.
Right. And post-COVID, I think the need for that's even greater. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Digital transformation is an essential. It's not a nice to have.
Yes. Another one was an analytics platform that we had actually built. And because of how Medicaid works in the state of Tennessee, you've got to have data from the Department of Health and Department of Children's Services and the such. And because you need vaccination information, what was really interesting was doing vaccinations for COVID through the Department of Health was actually all wrapped through that system.
Nice.
And so when you got your first shot, you then went in and scheduled for your second shot, how many ever weeks later it was. And you immediately had your dates, sent to you that you could schedule for your next shot, and then to be able to come in and get it and have that scheduled. And so it was very interesting how we did that. Again, pushing it out. That's not so much a competitive advantage as it is, getting services out to the people.
That's simplifying
when you're talking about the public sector.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's the connecting the dots piece of it. Proving IT's worth. How do we get services in the public sector? How do we get services out to the citizens in the private sector? How do we use it as a competitive advantage? Right. To be able to be better in the marketplace that we're in. The dogmatic tunnel vision. This one is just an interesting one. The focusing on enabling delivery to the business. So many people in IT get caught up in just the technology. Everything rolls back to, I keep saying back, enabling the business. Yeah. you've got to start thinking outside of the box. And that's why I went into enterprise architecture to begin with.
Yeah.
I wanted to be that business person. I had a goal to become a CIO at one time. Don't know if I'll reach that before I retire. I might not, but I love what I do now. So, it's, and you got to do what you love, right? But
Right.
I have to think outside of the box as an enterprise architect. I have to get outside of the technology. How do I enable my business partners? And that's getting outside of that tunnel vision. And as CIOs, as we go on, many CIOs start to come from other areas versus just being the person that gets promoted up through IT.
Mhm.
Because the CIO is the business person of IT. They have to have a very strong relationship with their, with their business partners. They have to know when to bring in people such as myself to work with their business partners to be able to deliver the solutions to them to enable their business. This is another one where the tunnel vision doesn't just apply to CIOs. It also has to, with other departmental executives as well. Start thinking outside of your box and how you can enable other areas of the business. So like I said, this isn't just failures of the CIO. It's failures of anybody in any business. Start thinking outside of your little box and how you can help enable other areas of the business.
Erik, how do you get
which is a
people
huge
talking
piece.
about what success looks like? How do you get them talking about, how do you get them out of the box?
So it's interesting. You get them talking from a business standpoint and how success works for them. You get them talking about what they do. Get them excited about what it is that they do. And what then becomes really interesting is you'll learn from them as an IT person, in someone in my kind of a role, or as a business analyst even, you'll get an understanding of what their pain points are.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that you want to help them fix, things that keep people up at night. And they'll just volunteer the information to you.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting. You just get them excited about what it is, to get them talking about what it is they do from a day-to-day standpoint. And again, like I said, they'll volunteer their pain points, what keeps them up at night. They'll also tell you what gets them up in the morning, to come into work,
Right.
as well. And when you start to hear these things from them, you can start to then put together ideas to help them in alleviating those, as I call them, business opportunities with technology innovation.
Right.
To be able to show them, let's figure out how we can make things better. You talked about kind of my background being so diverse. I mean, I'm Six Sigma certified, so I know how to make processes cleaner, take out the variability, remove redundant steps out of a process. I've done some of the ITIL certifications, so I know how to use those, use that speak to be able to speak to the business. I've practiced TOGAF enterprise architecture for the better part of 2 decades now, to be able to speak at the business architecture level as well as the other domains as well, to be able to help enable business. I always take a business first approach. And so I get my business partner excited about what it is. They tell me what their problems are, and I can come back with them and say, "I've been thinking about this opportunity, and here's an approach that I'm thinking that we may be able to take. And it's a little bit of potentially changing how the business operates, and implementing, new technology, existing technology, modifying some existing technology that we have in place to be able to help you do your job better.
Great.
So that is how you do it.
Awesome. Okay. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Overcomplicating the simple. I've kind of talked about it, and just now talking about it. Yeah. Learning to lead and enable capabilities. I'm going to tell you, more than likely, your organization already has a technology employed that will do something that you need to do.
Mhm.
These days, in a large enterprise, it's not often that you need to go out and buy a new solution. You may just need to modify an existing one. To give a little plug to what you do, Dawn, at my previous position with the state of Tennessee, we pretty much tried to make ServiceNow do everything.
Yeah, and it pretty much does.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things we were doing through ServiceNow was actually provisioning of new users.
Mhm.
And we had ServiceNow tied into our identity and access management platform, so that when a new employee came on board, the manager could go in, submit a ticket within ServiceNow, and through processes and workflows that we had built into ServiceNow, it automatically provisioned the individual, gave them the rights they needed, within the systems that they were going to need access to. So that's the learning to lead and enabling capabilities, right? We looked at the capabilities of what ServiceNow brought to the table. We did not need to go out and get something new. We had something employed. We just needed to enable that capability within ServiceNow. Another one we did. Now, I was the keeper of enterprise architectural artifacts. We actually took new system design once it hit deployment, and we had all of the data sitting in Spark's Enterprise Architect for all the CIs were sitting there when a system got deployed, and we automatically populated those CIs from Enterprise Architect into ServiceNow. So that now we didn't have to have somebody go in, and type them in, sitting at a keyboard and manually putting them in. We had to clean. We might have to go clean some things up occasionally, but we had like an over 95% success rate.
And that's huge for DevOps, who needs to be pushing the future. That capability matters. Yep.
Right. Absolutely. And so, we had that capability built in that, like I said, automated, again, enabling an existing capability.
Right.
And again, that doesn't just come from the CIO. The CIO fosters that mentality. They need to foster that mentality within their staff, but everybody in the staff needs to overcome the complicated. I'm an advocate of using KISS. Yep. Okay, keep it simple. Mm-hmm. I won't go any further, but keep it
simple and scalable. I agree.
Right. Yeah. just keep it simple, which is that last part.
Yeah.
When you overcomplicate something, it's exactly what it's going to cause variability. Kind of goes back to that whole Six Sigma thing that I've had going on for a long time. So it's just use that mentality.
Awesome.
This one again is a not just the CIO, excusing poor teamwork dynamics, identifying fixed team issues to create high performing teams. And I don't care if you're on-prem, I don't care if you're a remote team, if you're a hybrid team, if you're a combination thereof. It's not just, that IT exec. It's the departmental head. It's the project manager at a project level. It's the team lead within a department. It's each individual on a team. And I don't care if you're in IT, I don't care if you're in, the business side of things. It's everybody. It needs to be able to identify these issues. One of the biggest things that I've done for years, and then when I went to grad school, it was solidified, is you lead people by their strengths, not by their weaknesses. You need to see and be observant on a team, and again, not just the leader, everybody, to see if an individual is struggling at something, if somebody's not performing at an optimal level, and determine what that is. I've got just a thread going on with an individual who came to me. I made a statement on LinkedIn about I have been building high-performing remote teams for 25 years. And I have, even before all the technology, before remote was a thing. 25 years ago, coming up this coming year, I was building remote teams. But you've got to be able to identify when somebody's not performing and find out why. Have you, as a leader or as a program manager or a project manager, have you, given somebody a task that is not a strength? They are struggling with it. Identify that. Talk with them. Don't be confrontational about it. Just ask them kindly, hey, I noticed there's some struggles going on here. Is there something, going on? What can I do to help? And again, kind of goes back to the one thing I said earlier. As soon as you start having that friendly conversation with somebody, they will open up, and they will see that you're there to help, manage to their strengths, offer to get them help, to get a task done if that's what they need. Is somebody overworked? Do they have too many things on their plate right now? Can you reshuffle the board? I'll use an example. Years ago, I was a director of data center operations, and I had one of my team members who was showing up at the office significantly before I did. I got in at like 7 a.m. I would leave 5:30 because I had to catch a train to go home. Would leave 5:30, but he was still there. I pulled him in my office one day and I asked him, I said, are you struggling with, the stuff that I've got? Do I need to get you help, to do what it is? I mean, the guy was putting in 50 plus hours a week every week because I got to look at his timesheet, and he came clean with me. And when he came clean with me, it was a personal issue. And I looked at him and I said, that's great. I'm sorry about the personal issue. Please don't burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
He basically said he didn't want to be at home. And I said, okay, please don't burn yourself out. I came at it from a friendly, I'm concerned about your well-being, and he came clean with me, right? And I mean, he just gave me the information that I needed. And I said, we don't have to take it any further than that, but I'm here for you if you need to talk.
Yeah, that's connected.
So again, so that's, don't excuse poor teamwork. Find out what the problem is. Because most of the time, 9 out of 10 plus times, it's not because somebody's just lazy. It's because they're struggling with something. And so as soon as you find out what that is, you can fix the problem and move on. I'll use a statement in a conversation that I had with the CIO of Gaylord Entertainment. He and I were at a conference. We were walking through one of the hotels out there, and with one of our other business analysts, and he was new to CI. He was a new CIO to the organization, and I looked at him and I said, "We have fostered the mentality of failure is not possible." I said, "That's as far from the truth as we can be. Failure is possible. We need to fail fast. We need to fail fast, move on, and learn from our failure."
Correct.
And I said, because it's only failures that we learn from. We don't honestly learn from our successes because it worked. It's probably something we already know. We learn from where we fail.
Right.
And so fail fast. Don't be afraid to fail. And don't be afraid on the team side of it. Also, don't be afraid to go to others. It's a two-way street. If you're struggling as the individual contributor, go to other people on the team. Go to the team leadership. Go to your executive leadership. I'll use an example of my personal side of things. I was struggling with something. I reported to the CTO at TenCare, and I was struggling with something, and it had honestly to do with my workload. And so I went to him and I told him, "I'm struggling with this because right now I've got too much on my plate." And he said, "What do you want me to take off your plate?" And I said, "If you could take this piece off my plate, I can then handle this piece." And he said, "Consider it done."
Yeah. More of us need to learn how to ask for that kind of help and offer that kind of feedback, because I think it really helps us to be more practical in our delivery.
Yeah. It's in all honesty, it's leadership 101.
Mhm.
Leadership is about empowering, enabling, and serving your staff, or the people that report to you or do work for you. Period. And it's leadership. It's literally leadership 101.
Correct. Nice. Like it.
Great.
Charles, do you have any questions for
Well,
Erik? Comments?
I sat back and I was just listening. Erik, I'm surprised. You said you only went to version 3 of ITIL, but you just wrote version 4, if you don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
We have what we call our guiding principles, and you pretty much touched on all of them, from focusing on value to optimizing and automating with the ServiceNow component. And then you went into the leadership perspective by addressing what we call dimensions in ITIL. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that because you hooked all that up and you interconnected that. And I'm going to give you exactly what you said here. You interconnected all of these and connected the dots using what we call our value stream system. So
Yes.
you essentially took what we speak and you applied it in your discussion. And I think the value here is that speakers such as Erik is priceless to ITSMF, because what he did was he put it in a practical sense.
Yeah.
And that's what we need people to hear. And a lot of people really don't hear from that perspective. And I'm here nodding. Even with the failure component, I experienced something similar this week with my daughter. Before we close, she came home to say, "Dad, she's in a freshman seminar course, right, for English." And she said, "My instructor said that we should fail the exam. We should try our best to fail." And I said, I hate to say, I said, "What, really?" So I'm going to write a note to this instructor, but the instructor sent us a note home saying what she's doing is teaching them how to fail and not be afraid to fail. But
Yeah.
she had a program with that. So I think in some cases, even asking for help is not necessarily a failure, but it is helping people embrace and understand that sometimes, things don't go as planned, but what you need to do is look at how can you make a course correction, for example, even just asking help along the way if things aren't working out for you. But
Absolutely. It's not about, especially in business and definitely in IT, it's not about being an individual. Yes, you are an individual and you need to have your own individual style and things like that. But everything we do today is wrapped around teams. And you've got to be a player on that team. You cannot be you cannot be just the individual that says, I'm going to go off and do this, on my own. Because then you're just not going to get it done. There is, I've been doing this for, I don't want to date myself, but I mean, I've got well over 3 decades of IT experience in almost every discipline in IT. And what I know versus what I don't know, what I know is just a scratch on the surface of what I don't know.
Right.
And one of the things that has made me successful is that what I do know is I know when to say I don't know.
Yeah.
Or I don't have the answer. But then you follow that up with, let me go find that.
Let's figure it out.
That answer, or let's figure it out as a team. And bringing the group together. I had a situation like that where in my previous position, I owned identity and access management, and we had implemented an identity and access management on-prem that I knew was not going to be our long-term solution. Walked into the CIO's office with my leader, the CTO, and I said, we need to make a change. Because what we have now won't go where we need it to go in the future.
Right.
And I said, and the next statement out of my mouth was, I'm going to put together a team to go find a new solution. I didn't say I'm going to go find a new solution. I said, I'm going to put together a team. And I brought together 3 other individuals and myself. We went out and we found a new solution that would then be able to come in and we would be able to implement that would be our long-term identity and access management solution. And it was fine. It was interesting. I got through 1 slide on the deck of 10 that I did for a presentation for the CIO when he looked at me and he said, go make it happen. I didn't even get to go through 90% of the deck that I put together.
That's okay. You connected the dots very efficiently on slide 1.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that dot happened to be $600,000 a year savings.
Oh, well, there's a dot. That's a green dot.
Yeah.
I think that the teams aspect is really important. And I think with all the changes going on in industry, I think that's one of the things I would like to discuss also before we kind of come to a close, is that aspect of with the rampant layoffs that happened in our industry starting in November, pretty much, the impact to people that are their day-to-day is these relationships that they have, the teams, the problems they're solving. One of the things that I appreciated that you had talked about is how to create the sense of teams, even when your environment is in turmoil. And I wonder if you'd like to share a bit about that.
So, some of the biggest support you'll get from people are, once you get laid off or you is the people that you connected with on a team. I got laid off from a software company 2001, 2001, and a software company that's no longer in existence. And I still to this day have numerous connections with people that I worked with as a team, though none of us work together anymore.
Yes.
I have number of connections with those people that whenever I'm in their town, we get together. Whenever they're here in Nashville, we get together. We are friends on Facebook. We're connected via LinkedIn. I've got their phone numbers. They've got my phone number. We go out to dinner. We do things like that. And from my standpoint, Dawn, and you can attest to this, it honestly goes back to, I can't really say our childhood, but our teenage years. We grew up with a high school class that is still to this day so connected to each other. that, you know, we talk with each other, a lot. I mean, I have deep connections with individuals that I went to high school with because I had that mentality even then. I learned it then. So it's something I grew up with. Not that it can't be developed later in life, but it's definitely something that I grew up with.
Right.
Yeah, I gave it away. Dawn and I graduated high school together.
Yes, we
So,
did. And
so
we're in a place where people help each other. And that's what I
yeah,
want to close with is, community's powerful. You're in Tennessee, I was in California. It didn't matter. We were there. When I worked at
right,
Sun Microsystems for over a decade, there are people that I have the closest relationships with ever. And we've never met. One of the
right,
things that I think is really important about our connection, when Sun started laying off, we survived the World Trade Center bombings. We had an office in World Trade Center Building 2. It was the largest major incident that our company would ever see. And after that incident, after September 11th, October began the layoffs, 20% layoffs company-wide. These were people I worked with every day. We
yeah,
had a routine. We had things we loved to do, and we liked working. Most of the people I worked with, we loved our jobs, and we loved the relationship. So like my hometown and you and I going to school together, these are people that I was very connected to. The
yeah,
Jobs and Success Network that I have up on the slide now, that's the second link in this deck that I will be sharing out. And that was created out of those connections, September 11th, because what we decided in the midst of a layoff that's known, 20% people are going to be gone after this date. There's a lot of self-preservation, fear, uncertainty, doubt, kind of the ugly side of human behavior. And we'd worked so much with these people, we didn't want to compromise the value of our relationship just because of a business decision. So we made a commitment to one another and we started sharing job leads. So when somebody got a job, they shared it to the Jobs and Success Network. That put other people to work. When they got a job as a CIO, as a CTO,
yeah,
come on, give me your resumes, come on. And it put thousands to work from, in the worst economy ever, by staying connected and sharing the job leads. There's many of us that I've worked with at Sun years ago, and I've worked with them at least 4 times on other projects recently because we recommend one another, we refer one another, and in Silicon Valley, it's a small valley. It's easy to
yeah,
run into people over and over again. This is why connected caring matters in the job place, in our industry, in my hometown, in our hometown, Eric's and mine.
yeah.
It matters. So let's take care of one another in all times.
I
And
want
that's
to I want to share it. So where you're leading, where you're saying is, and you haven't directly said it is, but it is that last word. It's the network. It's the network of people. I actually got three previous positions via my network.
mhm,
Um, that one was how I even got into enterprise architecture, and it was weird how it even happened. I had, you heard me say I took that layoff from that software company, ended up going to General Electric for a while, outsourced myself out of a job, hung my own shingle for a couple of years, and I was doing contract work. I was actually doing contract work for McDonald's Corporation at their corporate offices on a project. Got off that project, ended up moving to Nashville on a wing and a prayer. And I have a friend here that was in Nashville who did mortgages, who was doing and this is how I broke into enterprise architecture, who was doing a mortgage for a gentleman who worked for that hospital company. They were talking about what he did, and they figured out, he said, we've been looking to fill this role for like a year and a half, haven't been able to find the person. My
nice.
friend who was doing the mortgage for the guy says, hey, it sounds like a friend of ours who just moved here. He says, give me his resume. I emailed that gentleman my resume, who then gave it to somebody else, who was the hiring manager for the position, who then calls me one Friday morning and says, "Can you come in for an interview this afternoon? Because my boss, the chief enterprise architect, thinks he knows you."
That's awesome.
I go into the interview. The chief enterprise architect is an ex-IBMer, and he actually was working on that project at McDonald's with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
There was no interview. We sat around in his office for an hour and a half. He looks at his watch, just chatting, catching up. And he looks at his watch. He goes, "Well, Erik, it's 4 o'clock on a Friday. You mind if I make you an offer on Monday?" And I looked at him. His name was Tom. And I said, "Tom, go ahead and take your time. Monday will be fine."
This is the way it happens.
Yeah.
I'm a contract consultant. Sun was the best long-term job I ever had, because people cared about each other and we were constantly forced to grow and change. And, I had to implement processes, and then I had to implement them in a bigger circle. And then I was doing them in the world. And then we outsourced, and we did it to 4 different companies that we outsourced. Same process, but expanding.
Right.
I love this nature of our work. Reinventing ourselves to solve new problems. That's the stuff that rolls me out of bed in the morning. But the caring for one another part, that's how it's happened for me. I was working here in Normal, Illinois, for State Farm, and I was taking a job. I was getting ready to move to Arizona to work with one of my former employees at Sun. And then I get a call because they weren't generating the offer fast enough. I get a call. It's a stranger thing, because my ex-husband at the time, we were sitting at Starbucks in Normal, and he said, "We're going to California." I thought that was the craziest thing to say in the world, because I hadn't applied for any jobs in California. We were going to Arizona, and I had just enough money to get us there. That was it. I got a call, and it was one of my former managers, one of the executives that I'd worked with at Sun that I really liked. And he interviewed me. He says, "You got time to interview now? And can you be here by Monday?" Well, I had enough money to get to Arizona, or I could fly to California. Taking risks. I flew to California, and it was the best thing in the world. I love our industry. And now what I love about it is, it doesn't matter where we live. It matters what's in our hearts and what we deliver. And we're doing that every day.
Yeah.
Let's help one another and make it good.
We spoke earlier about the whole, remote work. The pandemic, a lot of places were starting to move to hybrid and only. The pandemic just accelerated that, exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest, I look at some of these companies that are now mandating that people have to come back to the office, and I'm thinking to myself, why?
Right.
There are so many advantages. My previous employer at the state of Tennessee, they pushed everybody home, like pretty much permanent. We went from 3 buildings in an office park to one. While I was still there during the pandemic, we reduced the state's real estate operating expense for that agency by 2/3.
Yes, it's huge. And the government use of telework management and the cost savings that are involved in that, that's big. That's huge.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's all about that. Charles,
circle back on that, Erik. You asked the question why, and we're going to go back down your background. The reason is it's because it's now you're challenged with the same thing I was challenged with. One of the roles I had was an enterprise strategy consultant, which is to provide companies with new ideas, new solutions, with direction and guidance. It's a company I used to work for. One of the things I love to say is, "Where do you want to go today? Where would you like to go?"
Right.
With that, and that, you will have organizations, and this is what you are challenged with in your role, is you may present an option to leadership. The leadership may actually say, "Hey, they don't want to go that way, but they don't want to go down that direction or with that solution." But it's also a matter of your ability as not just a technologist, but your ability to be able to influence and provide value to the customer, let them understand this is how
Right.
you're going to receive value.
Yeah.
If it's monetary or it's through people, because typically organizations have looked at that bottom number, but they don't understand that their most valuable resource are people.
Yeah.
So,
And that's where I go with this is I look at this and I say, okay, here, especially in Nashville, I mean, we're just around 2 million people. When I moved here, it was way less than 1 million. And so the talent pool, even to this day, is still very small for people that are here. And we have Amazon, who has expanded here with about 5,000 jobs. Oracle is moving a huge chunk of their corporate operation here to Nashville over the next
Wow.
few years.
Mhm.
And there's no, where's the talent going to come from? Expand your thought processes. Let people work remotely
Where they
so
are.
that you can
Yeah.
so you don't have to have a limited pool or relocate people. Relocation is a huge expense.
Right.
If you want to bring somebody here, if Oracle's bringing a huge corporate presence here, but they don't want to relocate the people, then to go to that expense, then let them stay in Silicon Valley and work there, live there, work there if that's what they want to do. If they want to move here, great. If not, don't force them.
Right.
Yeah. So and then just from a recruiting standpoint of getting new talent, it makes your window so much larger for people.
Your
The pool
talent
is
base
so
is
much bigger.
literally anywhere. Yes. Right.
Right. I've said for years, remember 25 years, highly effective remote teams I've built. I have a laptop and a cell phone. I can work from almost anywhere and
that's
have.
right. Yeah.
And have.
yeah, I think as we go, we'll find that command and control leaders will start to
Mhm.
change because
Yeah.
we're turning a corner now, and I think that's the beauty of what we're looking at. Control and control and command leadership.
Hmm.
It's something that
Right.
needs to change. I think we'll deal with it while we have. But at the same time, I think that's also something, Don, as we talk about roles, that people do look at the options for hybrid roles as well as remote roles because
Right.
that command and control leadership style will change and evolve. And organizations are going to see that having land leases and other things that's associated with that command and control model it's going to be too costly over time. And once
But
again,
the value of connecting with your team, I've worked for JIT in Chicago, well, St. Charles. I'd worked with them, and it was over a year, almost 2 years. I'd never met anybody, and I met him for the first time at the ServiceNow World event in Chicago. So hybrid makes sense, get your teams together. But we have also found that when I worked from home, we didn't have the capability Zoom offers, but the ability to see one another face to face, hear one another, and the dynamics of how to work together as a team. I think that's evolving in our industry, and I think that there's a lot more.
Yeah. Where I'm currently at, and about at the end of this year, I'm moving on. But when the pandemic happened, they implemented within Teams what they call Team Scramble, and it's just a 30-minute, once a week meeting where anybody who can get on a Zoom call just gets together, and we have a topic, not even work-related topic, that everybody. Then we split out into smaller teams, and we just talk about that particular topic. And it's a fun way of being able to connect with your team or people on the team that you don't work with, because I mean the team that I'm currently on, we're very geographically dispersed, and when I say very, I'm talking about around the world.
Right.
We've got people in all sorts of areas of the world, and people being able to jump on the call, and just like I said, just 30 minutes. Did it once a week, and it just got you to know the people you work with.
Right. That's awesome. Well, gentlemen, it's really been it's been a great call, and I can't wait to host some more of these. If you guys have suggestions, let us know what you'd like to see on these calls, and we'll carry them forward. Any
I
closing
appreciate
thoughts
the
for you
opportunity.
two?
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you two, and hopefully the rest of the group who gets to
The
watch
rest of the
this
group is
later.
going to hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah, I
Eric. You've
hope
got
they
some
enjoy
great
it.
insights, and I'm happy to have had you with us.
Yeah,
Charles,
Eric,
any closing thoughts?
Eric, it was wonderful. It was a great discussion. I enjoyed it. Hope to have you on many more calls in the future just to help out the constituency. But once
Sure.
again, wonderful. Your discussion points, your 5 were key. It was right down the middle of the road.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We
All right.
will
Have a good
clean this
have a
up
good
and
day.
post it. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
all.